The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists. Jimmy Song, Bitcoin developer.
Hey, everybody.
Tone Vase from Liberty Life Trail.
Hey, guys.
Jeffrey Jones from the Bitcoin News Show.
Hey, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue 1, net neutrality. If Trump's FCC repeals net neutrality, elites will rule the internet and the future. Net neutrality, the basic rule that allows all packets to be treated equal, the First Amendment of the internet, is under threat from the Trump administration. Trump's FCC is expected to vote on December 7th in a 5-3 vote to end net neutrality, allowing ISPs to discriminate on traffic. This would allow AT&T, who owns DirecTV, to favor their traffic and make Netflix slower. This would end competition on the internet and end innovation in the future. But there are two sides, and many believe that the market could simply solve this problem. Jimmy Song, net neutrality, a big problem or a big nothing?
Well, here's the problem. You have a lot of ISPs that have pseudo monopolies over various places, and if that wasn't if that didn't exist, then you wouldn't really need net neutrality, because people would you would have competition and being able to offer more access to more things. And like I'm a parent, right? Like I'd like some package that like sort of filters certain things that my kids can't see or whatever. So to some degree, part of the problem is that there are these like pseudo monopolies all over the country, and they, you need net neutrality in order to do that. I personally wouldn't care about net neutrality if there was more competition, but unfortunately we have this double whammy of sort of a pseudo monopoly and the government saying, well, now you can do whatever you want with your monopoly. Yeah, I don't like that combination. I think one or the other has to give. You either have to have net neutrality with pseudo monopolies, or you have to have more competition. And I would personally like to see the more competition solution, because I think that would like cause innovation, right? Like I want to see more. Like there are certain things that I don't ever look at, right? Like I don't care to. I mean, we're kind of talking about politics, but part of what I've been doing is not paying attention to the news at all. I see it as a complete waste of time. And
now it comes back on you. If you don't pay attention to the news, people will try to take away the underlying freedoms of the internet, the ability for people to innovate, for new protocols to happen.
But I would actually appreciate like being not having to pay for that bandwidth, or like saying, okay, can I get a $5 discount if you just like cut off, CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC, whatever. Like I want the ability, like cable subscriptions should be the same way, right? Like I want just like the 2 channels.
They still haven't offered that.
Yeah, they haven't, because they have a pseudo monopoly, and really the problem is more along the lack of competition than net neutrality necessarily. I think you just need more competition, more players, and especially with the internet, you should be able to get a lot more out there. It's just that last mile with the ISPs. I'd like to see more Google weather balloons, or I don't know. There's a lot of other technologies that can sort of get us that last mile. I'd like to see more of that explored. Unfortunately, there's already sort of entrenched players like cable companies or whatever that provide most of the internet access in this country. So it's a bit unfortunate. I'd like to see more fiber out there. I'd like to see more competition. I mean, Austin supposedly has Google Fiber, but it's definitely not in my neighborhood, so that sucks. But if they had it, I guarantee you, there's no way AT&T or Time Warner Cable, the 2 other main players around here, would like say, okay, you only get Google and Facebook and DirecTV. That's it. Like there's no way they can compete against Google Fiber that would offer net neutrality. So I think the market can solve this. It's just, we got this weird double whammy of monopoly plus then, like removing net neutrality that basically makes it pretty terrible for consumers.
All right, better to keep net neutrality. Tone Vase.
Yeah, well, I'm on like I don't have a side here because like I understand the argument from both sides, and the argument to remove net neutrality makes sense. Now, it's unfortunate that you have these monopolies and they're going to favor each other. So the example, Thomas, that you gave was, well, if one of the ISP providers owns, DirecTV, then they're going to favor, who they own over others. Right. Well, this is why there needs to be laws saying that they can't just like blatantly favor and stop the other ones. Now, I know laws is enforcement, and that's going to be tricky. But I would love to hear your argument saying it's going to kill innovation. I don't understand how it would kill innovation. So maybe you can clarify.
Okay, it'll kill innovation in two ways. The first way, we'll just talk about basic websites. YouTube is a website that serves videos. If I want to start YouTube 2, a competitor to YouTube, right now, we can both send traffic at the same rate. In the future, under a non-net neutrality system, YouTube would pay for the fast lane. YouTube 2 would either have to raise a bunch of venture capital that they would spend to get into the fast lane to even get to those consumers, or their videos would be served slower than YouTube's videos. You can't compete. So that's the basic website problem. In addition to that, there's the idea of new services. Like originally we had FTP, Gopher, Usenet, all these different services that were not just web, not just web browser, right? And there could be a rise of these services again, things like torrents, which do sometimes serve legitimate means. Other services that currently can just use the network. In the future, they'd have to buy access to the fast lane in order to compete with anyone. So it's a huge barrier for innovation. It's similar to when radio went from an open medium that anyone could send up a radio station and it was for a hobbyist to a closed medium where the radio that we know now is a one-way hit machine. And that's all it does. And that would be the internet. It would be like the internet would become television.
Well, on your first point, right? I mean, Google would pay more for that fast lane. It's not like they're gonna get it for free, right? It's not like Google.
More, but the current system allows for competition. The new system wouldn't.
Well, right, but the problem that the ISPs are saying is, well, wait a minute, Netflix is like 50% of our bandwidth, but we have to provide Netflix the same amount of speed as we have to provide my website, which is simply text on a page, right? So I shouldn't have that much bandwidth because I don't use that much bandwidth. And Netflix should be paying much more for that bandwidth. So yeah, for the consumer, like Jimmy said, for the consumer, it sucks because the ISPs are going to charge Netflix like 3 times more money. So that cost is going to have to go onto the consumer to pay for it. So in your case of competition to Google, yeah, a new video streaming platform to compete with Google, you're right, they are going to have slower speed, but they're going to be paying a lot less for that than Google will. Again, now, if it's a fair competition. So I can definitely see it from both sides. Now, how is this going to affect torrent? I don't know. Now, in a way, there should be, if you are going to remove net neutrality, the law that removes net neutrality should also come with the consumer right to keep net neutrality, right? So you can pay for equal traffic for everything, right, as the consumer, or you can just, pay less and let your ISP provider choose which websites you go to have more and less traffic, or you would pay to have equal traffic across everything. Now there are ways to even it out, but I can definitely see it from the ISP's provider saying, damn, how come we gotta, how come we can't charge people that use more bandwidth more money?
I'm not sure that's the issue at all. Let's move on to Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great, interesting conversation here. I mean, you can make the argument from both sides for different things, like you guys have done. But for me, in my opinion, it's a real slippery slope once you break net neutrality. Because once you break net neutrality, then all it takes is a couple of lobbyists, and they can get whatever they want to do. Once you break it, there's like it's like a threshold. As soon as you break that, then you're just gonna go downhill more and more and more and more and more. We have to keep, in my opinion, net neutrality at all costs. It is one of the most important things that allowed the internet itself to evolve into what it is, to create the services that we have today, and to create the services that we have that we can't even imagine yet tomorrow. It has to stay. You know, so I definitely encourage people to like contact their senators and try to spread awareness. I mean, what we really have to do as well as, you know, with the rise of all this cryptocurrencies, we need to continue and even more so donate to these open source projects or these privacy focused projects like Tor. We need to donate the hell out of Tor. You know, we need to get that as secure as possible. And remember, to the ISPs, it really doesn't cost them much more for example, to serve consumers different things. It's not the hardware and things that they have to equip to go from example, to have you go from like 1 megabit to 2 megabit in speed. It's virtually nothing. Okay, it's the same hardware doing the same thing. It's simple throttling. It doesn't cost them any more to serve you less. And so, you know, the whole idea of this is kind of ridiculous. We're not paying, you know, like per packets here. It's we're paying for a fixed amount of bandwidth, and so it shouldn't matter what those packets are. They should be completely neutral. The ISP should not care what the hell I am doing with my you know, with my communication medium, my main communication medium. And so, you know, there is this huge, as you guys mentioned, there's this huge monopoly over ISPs right now, and I'm really looking forward to technologies that can eventually break that. Something, you know, things like mesh networks and even cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin can help to fuel some of these ideas about creating these new types of decentralized networks, or that are at least more decentralized than these ISPs. And it's really important that we get there. And I think that Bitcoin and its security and privacy focusing communities will create something like this. You know, whatever that looks like. I believe that is being built today, a new version of the internet that is more privacy focused and, you know, encrypted by default. Is being worked on by several teams and several projects, and so that's something that I really look forward to.
Let me just get back in here. I know I always take the devil's advocate position on any issue, but only because the other side always, you know, hears one way. Look, what bothers me about the removal of net neutrality laws is that it has a very high likelihood of deteriorating your privacy. Right, so that part bothers me. Right, like the outright, like you remove net neutrality, there'll be a lot, like the complete banning of certain IP addresses, like the complete, you know, no bandwidth to certain sites. Like that part bothers me. Like I don't want that. Right, so I actually
because that part is the end of the free and open internet, and that's what we're trying to stop here. That's what all these libertarians are like. Oh, you're adding new rules, and you're going to let the government decide on the internet. Neutrality is not making a choice. Neutrality is letting the packets through. Once this goes away, you're right. There's going to be much more scrutiny, much more control.
Right. Now, what I want to make clear is, so the removal of net neutrality scares me from the privacy end of things. But I am sympathetic to the fact that if you're using more bandwidth with certain projects, it should cost you more money. So I do believe that competition should drive, you know, the more you like Netflix should be paying more because they're using more data, right? Like same thing as the consumer. If you should have the ability to
I
pay
do think
for
Netflix pays more at their end, but I don't think the consumer pays more for Netflix. Should they pay twice? I think is the issue here. Because Netflix does Netflix buys servers.
But from the consumer end, I would like to have, you know, more options, because like in my house right now, like I travel 9 months out of the year. So it's kind of weird how I'm paying for my, you know, computer data, right? Because I can go 3 months without using, you know, without using a zero data in my house. Yet I'm paying a full bill because it's complicated to turn it on and off, right? So I would like to have more leeway as the consumer to pay for what I'm actually using, and sometimes I need unlimited.
It's unlikely that this will get you that. But let's move on to the exit question. Exit question on December 7th. Will the FCC go through with their plan to kill net neutrality, or will there be so much public outrage that they will change their mind? Jimmy Song.
I don't care, and I don't want to know. I don't pay attention to the news, and I don't want to get involved in a political fight. Thank you.
This is classic. When they put him up against the wall, Jimmy will say, "But I didn't care about politics." Tone Vase.
I think there is a lot of public outrage. I think net neutrality is going to stay.
Jeffrey Jones.
I mean, it's crazy how far the U.S. is already behind in bandwidth, when you compare us to the rest of the world. I mean, what was the actual question, Thomas?
Will they remove net neutrality?
I really hope not. And as long as it's just like freedom, net neutrality is just like freedom. If you're not vigilant, if you don't stay connected, if you don't stay aware, you will lose your freedoms one by one.
And of course, we must remember the lesson of history. If you're not turned on to politics, politics will turn on you. I'm afraid.
I disagree.
It's a big lesson, and I'm afraid they do remove net neutrality, and I'm afraid we enter into an internet dark age. Nothing.
I think
else
it's
is
outrage
going right.
of the week. Whatever. It's not a big deal.
All right. Well, we'll see you on the other side when there's no internet and no one can communicate, and we won't be able to do anything then. But just like to ask everyone to give us a thumbs up and a share. If it's your first time here, we have 555 live viewers. We're moving on to issue 2. Issue 2, Tether hacked. Tether was hacked for more than 31 million of its digital tokens, and they have a solution. They're going to roll back the Tether chain to get rid of the hacker. Is this the new solution for all cryptocurrencies? And how does this relate into our topic last week when Tone Vase was saying he worried about Tether, was uncertain of the number printed and the bank accounts, other potential solutions? Was this just an attractant? Or are we just talking about Tether every week? Go ahead, Tom.
Oh man, yeah, it's amazing. It really reminded me of like the DAO situation where I talked shit about the DAO on this here show, and then everyone called me an idiot, and like a week later it gets hacked. But all right, so rolling back at the Tether chain, I mean, Tether is a centralized token. Like there's nothing wrong there. You want Tether to be rolled back. I mean, this is why you have Tether. Someone is, holding dollars at a bank, and the whole reason for their answer to their terms of service that says we have the right not to redeem your Tether is for this specific reason, right? Like they have the right not to redeem the Tether of the hacker. So if it's easier for them technologically than regulatory to just roll back the chain in order to not give the Tether back to the hacker, that's exactly what they're going to do. Now, what people need to realize is that Tether is a centralized coin. And I have a huge problem with Tether. Now, I'm not going to, I'm already getting getting into huge fights over Tether with people I used to like, and I'm in support with people I never liked as far as Tether. It's really a funny situation. But I never cared about Tether when it was 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. But now it's approaching 1 billion. And I know exactly how Tether is going to end. And all of these people have their heads in the sand because they think the government doesn't know that Tether exists. But the government does know that Tether exists. And Tether is just a centralized scam token that is there for you to use to get around US regulations and laws and other money laundering regulations. Now, I would love for everyone to get around money laundering laws, because I think money laundering laws are the most atrocious laws in the world. Okay, so I would love for everyone to get around the money laundering laws. My problem is that people seem to be very, very comfortable getting around money laundering laws with a centralized coin, which in my mind is one of the dumbest things you can do. So to me, Tether is a really, really dumb project. It's a project with people's heads in the sand because the government is going to come smack the hammer down, and they know exactly where the money is sitting. And that's me, going against Bitfinex and all of his research that says the money's not even there, right? So I will assume that the money's there. And I think that if the money is there, it's probably worse because the government's going to show up and it's going to take the money, okay? Because they're going to, it's just, Tether is just so easy to bring down. And as far as Bitfinex is concerned, the fact that Bitfinex chose to take on this Tether liability makes me question the entire management of Bitfinex. So yes, I think Bitfinex is growing too big. And as far as Bitfinex and Tether goes, I'd rather see them go down earlier than later, because either way, they're going to go down. All right. On that note, I think I'm bringing in enough hate mail, so I'll pass it on to the next.
All right, Jeffrey Jones, should Tether roll back the chain?
Roll back the chain. I don't know. We'd have to ask Vitalik on that. Really, I think he can give us his best thoughts on that. But look, I haven't commented much on Tether this week. It's just not my area of expertise as far as heavy finance on Wall Street. That's of course much more for Tone and for those type of people. But it is, the fact remains that it is a small market cap relative to Bitcoin. And will likely continue to remain small relative to Bitcoin, even as it grows to like $1 billion. it's still going to be
worth. Can I challenge that for a second, right? Sure. Because I deal with this argument on Twitter all the time, right? Okay. So the current market cap of Bitcoin is $137 billion, right? But realistically, how much of that do you think is actively traded on exchanges?
It's supposed to be, most of it is supposed to be traded actively.
Really? Because Satoshi holds,
I think most of it's
supposedly
cold storage.
Oh, are you talking about in Bitcoin? Oh, all of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
No. How much out of the total market cap of Bitcoin? Yes. How much of that market cap do you think is actively traded on exchanges?
Sorry. So according to sites like CoinMarketCap and things, it's anywhere between $1 billion to 10 to 15 billion. Depending on
right, but the entire billion of Tether is traded on exchanges.
Right, correct.
Right,
correct.
So if we're gonna say, okay, so out of 137 billion of Bitcoin market cap, let's say 10 billion of that is trading on an exchange.
Okay.
Right, across all the exchanges.
Okay.
But Tether is 1 billion almost, right? So correct. Tether represents the potentially 10% of panic in Bitcoin. So imagine if 10% of Apple stock all of a sudden, had a problem.
No, I understand. And no, I'm not saying that it won't indeed cause some type of correction.
Well, no, I'm not saying it's going to cause a correction. Okay. I think a Tether blow up would be the greatest thing for Bitcoin ever. I think a Tether blow up would raise the price of Bitcoin by 2 to 3x within a matter of weeks.
Yeah, so that was probably...
So I really have no problem with a Tether blow up, because I think it's a major positive for Bitcoin.
Yeah, and that was partly what I was gonna say is we do need to go through something like this. But it's not insignificant, right? Because you can't compare the Tether to Bitcoin's market cap. You have to compare Tether to Bitcoin's market cap actively traded. Right, actively traded. Yeah, and that's fair, and I think I agree with that as well. I mean, it's true, because that's how you can determine if what kind of correction you're gonna face, and that's true. And it would definitely, in my opinion, cause some type of correction as people would get scared. But remember, this is a part of the growing pains of Bitcoin clashing with the traditional systems, right? This is part of the growing pains we're going to have to go through as the centralized KYC AML entity just clashes up against this anonymous worldwide global decentralized asset. This is part of the stuff that's going to happen. We're going to have this type of decision to be made. How do we want to bring in traditional fiat into the new system, right? And so right now, Tone, you called it stupid and dumb, right? And it's like, at the same time, look, there really wasn't much other choice, right? If you want to bring in fiat into the system in a liquid way to provide liquidity to the market and to multiple exchanges and things like that, this was a way to do that. And they did, I'm assuming, the best that they could. So I think that this is something we're going to have. This is a conversation we're going to have, and a decision is going to have to be made. And whether that means Tether getting hacked again, or the U.S. coming down on Tether, whatever it is, we're going to have to go through this, because we are going to have to continue to transition old money into the new system. It has to go. There is no mistake. The old ship is sinking. There's got to be a way provided. The market will demand a way to get their old money out. And so whether that's through Tether or not, I'm not really worried. And I hope that we figured it out sooner than later.
All right, Jimmy Song, your thoughts on Tether?
Well, I did do an interview with Bitfinex earlier this week with Tone, and that was that was one of the weirdest sort of things that I've gone through. I think Tony and I have been talking since then, and we're like, what did we get ourselves into? What is this thing? Because I honestly hadn't looked too much into it until that interview. But the things that are really kind of throwing red flags for me are there are people defending Bitfinex like it's their mom. Like there are people that are like, Bitfinex can do nothing wrong, and everything that is being like criticized about them is like an attack on their mom. It's just kind of really weird to me that that sort of behavior is happening, because I haven't really seen it really like that.
Jimmy, let me ask you this: do you think it's because like the traders are like really close with the exchange, because like the exchange made them a lot of money, and so
I don't know what it is, but like the level
we can guess. We can take our best guesses. There's a couple of conspiracy theories out there, and they all make sense because nothing else does.
Yeah, but they're defending Bitfinex like it's their mom. It's just a company and it's an exchange. It's been hacked twice now, or if you count the Tether thing. And I mean, one of the other things that
2.5.
Yeah, one of the other things that's really puzzling about this whole story is I looked at the address that got hacked. It's a 3 or 4 multi-sig. That means they set up 4 private keys, and 3 of them have to unlock it in order for it to move. And this hacker found 3 of them. Now, is this like, it's possible it's an external hacker that found all of this stuff and individually got 3 different keys, or it's somebody internal that managed to get all of them, or they just have like terrible security. Like any of those options, it's pretty bad. Like whatever happened, if you compromise a 3 or 4, you either have terrible OPSEC, the hacker is really good, in which case they can do all kinds of things to you, that or you have like some mole in your organization. None of those things are good. So it tells me that this is not a good situation, and I'm very worried about, okay, if a hacker gets in and manages to compromise 3 or 4 keys, something smells really bad, and I don't know where this story will lead or whatever. But I can't imagine this is the end of it. I know a lot of people like are criticizing Bitfinex because like he's doing all this stuff and nobody knows who he is, and he's sort of saying stuff, he's butthurt, all that. I don't like, just the behavior and all the evidence that I've seen. Something is wrong. I don't know what it is, and I doubt we'll know until like the full story comes out in the next I don't know how long, but something smells, and there are some red flags here, and I my gut instinct is to say, let's watch this very, very closely.
Right. So I just want to jump back in here real quick, Jimmy. But as far as like the speculation over some of these traders, whether whale pool or whatever, defending them. So I'll throw them out there, right? So one theory out there saying that these guys either were handed or they bought up a lot of the equity, because after that hack, right? After the hack, there was this push to get these people to convert the IOU tokens into equity of the company, right? Now the hack was for the second hack was for how much? $72 million, right?
This is the something one like last year. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It was for 72 million, right? And obviously, the moment you're hacked, you just like with Mt. Gox, you freeze the US dollar amount so that the Bitcoin volatility going forward is no longer your concern, right? You got hacked for 72 million. You owe people 72 million in US dollar equivalent, right? I mean, that's just how these things are. And according to, again, Flibber, that was on our show, that other people are trying to substantiate, Bitfinex is making $1 million a day. Well, if you're making $1 million a day and you got hacked for 72 million, within 3 months, you'll be able to pay everybody back. So why in the world are they converting people to equity? Right? So it's just like raises questions on top of questions, right? The other thing that someone threw at me the other day was, well, all of these high-end traders, they're all backing Bitfinex because of the Tether situation, and they have all of these means to get around, again, the transfer of money. with the Tether token. And again, I'm very sympathetic. I would love nothing more than to destroy, the AML KYC laws and get around them. I just think that trusting Tether to get you around them is one of the dumbest things you can do because it's a centralized token.
I think this goes well into the exit question. Exit question: the price of Tether will remain at $1 a coin, or it will fall to 0. Jeffrey Jones.
We've seen it go below and over, so it'll definitely fall to 0 if the U.S. government comes in. So we'll have to see what happens. For now, it shall remain $1, I guess.
Jimmy Song.
I can't. I mean, it's trading at like 99 cents right now. I can't see it ever going below like 5 cents, for example. There's always somebody that'll sort of take on debt and hope that some bankruptcy proceeding will get them some money. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, this is a story that has a funky smell. We're going to track it down and figure out what's going on. And I really have no idea what I've gotten myself into. I'm sure there are lots of people that are nodding, like that are watching the show right now. But I do want to see what's going on. I don't know. I have no idea.
Tone Vase.
Well, right. I mean, I can make an argument that it can go both ways, right? So obviously, I feel, because I'm not a trader, I feel that this token should certainly be worth well below $1 even today. But if Tether never increased the supply of Tether and they left it at 10 million that was original, and maybe they only increased it to like 100, there could be such a huge demand for Tether because this liability has been outsourced to all of the anonymous exchanges. So if there isn't enough Tether to go around these exchanges, as more and more people are dying to get into trading, they could be trading this Tether at a huge premium because there's no other way for somebody on Poloniex or Bittrex to trade versus something resembling a US dollar. So the thing can swing both ways. But the moment the hammer comes down and that money in a bank is in jeopardy, or Bitfinex comes up with real proof that the money's not there, then that thing will sink by like 50% in a matter of hours, and people will not have the time to get out.
Moving on to issue 3, Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash prices have gone insane. After the previous pumped the price of Bitcoin Cash to $1,200 a coin, it's now almost $2,400 a coin, retreating back to $1,700 a coin, I believe, at this time. The price of Bitcoin Cash has really been all over the place, with Falkvinge, the new elected president of Bcash, saying that Bitcoin Cash would be replacing Bitcoin and would be the new Bitcoin. Jeffrey Jones, is Bitcoin Cash a pump, or should we all welcome our new Bcash overlords?
Oh man, I think a lot of us at the WCN have definitely made our opinions known about Bcash and our thoughts about it. I'll just say that a lot of these CEOs like Rick, how they're tweeting out, how they're sending these transactions for low fees and things like that. And hey, it's like classic Bitcoin again. Look, you're clearly trying to bring back a Bitcoin that isn't, right? A Bitcoin that the market doesn't demand. A Bitcoin that is run completely centralized by Roger and friends. Like, I just can't understand it. I won't speak much more about it other than, it's clearly a monopoly of a coin. It's clearly completely centralized. And, look, I'm all for experimentation. So, if you guys think that that's what you guys want, a fascist coin, a corporate type of coin, sweet. Definitely go ahead and go for it. It's just completely strange to me, though, how it continues and how the insanity gets covered up. Like, for example, for the last 48 hours, transactions were more expensive on Bitcoin Cash than Bitcoin. And of course, you'll never hear any CEOs who are pushing Bitcoin Cash say anything like that or speak up about that at all. They'll just continue to tell you that Bitcoin Cash is better than Bitcoin in every way, and it's the true original Satoshi's vision. And I mean, anytime somebody says original vision in your face, I mean, they might as well be pushing religion, because Bitcoin hasn't been Satoshi's original vision in years. Not since mining pools, not since ASICs, not since on and on and on and on. So, Satoshi left the project to the community. It's that simple. We don't want Satoshi's vision. Satoshi doesn't want Satoshi's vision, people. That's why he left, and that's why he left it to us. It's up to us, the community. And I think we're doing a pretty amazing job with Bitcoin at 8,000 and the continuing optimizations of Core. You know, Jimmy tweeted out a great Thanksgiving tweet, like, about how, look, we're thankful for Core, and, you know, we're thankful for keeping our money safe. Like, this is an amazing time to be alive, to be in the era of Bitcoin. So yeah, that's about it.
Jimmy Song, are we violating Satoshi's vision? Were we promised on-chain scaling?
I mean, I don't care that much about on-scale scaling. I mean, I did a show with some guys the other day, and I talked about the role of sound money and store of value and all that stuff. And you can sort of get my take on it there with respect to the economics of it. But I will say that Bitcoin Cash is very much useful for you know, corporations, because they take up most of the block space already on Bitcoin. So if they move over to Bitcoin Cash, I don't know if that would necessarily be a bad thing, right? Like if they want to push for Bitcoin Cash and, you know, utilize the block space that they have, that's great. Thing is, it's the blockchain on Bitcoin Cash is also a public resource, and I've shown this before. There's a transaction way back when somebody made a bare multi-sig, like, huge transaction that essentially encoded the literal Satoshi white paper into the Bitcoin blockchain, and they paid like no fees on any of it. And you can still go look at it. It's on bitcoin.stackexchange.com. I answered this question. I made a little Python script that you can run. If you have the Bitcoin blockchain and you run my script, you will get the Satoshi white paper.pdf like on your machine. You can go read it, whatever. Like it was abused, right? Like utilizing the block space in that way, a public resource in that way, should cost you something. And you know, if you have 8 megabytes and it's like it costs like almost nothing to transact in, well, you know, be careful what you wish for, because people will be utilizing it that way too. I remember this story.
So you're saying that we've changed from Satoshi's vision and that block space is no longer free. So we've already made changes.
Yeah, to some degree. I want to give this example because there was I believe I forget which country. It might have been Saudi Arabia or something. And there was this prince or something that wanted to sort of give bread to all of the citizens. And because he wanted to do that, he made the bread very cheap, right? And you know, people had to stand in line to go get it, and it was like, you know, some very small amount per bread loaf. And you know, everyone could go buy bread. That was fine. Except then people started abusing it. People would buy like 5 things of bread and then go feed their horses with it, or their, you know, or their animals with it. And that's kind of what's going to happen with the blockchain on Bitcoin Cash with the incentives that are currently in place, is that if you just sort of let it be and like keep it sort of artificially cheap, like they kind of are doing by increasing the block size, well, you know, people are going to use it for other uses, and you might not necessarily agree with their use, and it's not going to necessarily keep it constantly cheap, right? Like, you know, when we get to like, suppose that they do well, and you know, you're filling up almost every block with 8 megabytes of transactions. Well, at that point, they're going to be like, well, we have to fulfill the original vision or whatever. Let's increase it to 32, and let's increase it to a gigabyte or whatever. And they're going to keep doing it so that the fee stays low. That's sort of like an artificial lowering of the fee, right? This is not the market working. It's sort of like by governance or whatever, they're changing the price by sort of increasing the supply artificially. Well, then, you know, people are going to start abusing it. That's just how the market works, is that if you artificially lower the price, well, it's going to be utilized for things that you may not necessarily want. And at that point, then you need even more governance to say, well, you're not allowed to use the bread to go feed animals, or, you know, like use it as couch cushion or something, like whatever. Like you have to use it for this.
You can't put controls on the free bread.
Right. Yeah. Right. So it's gonna that path, I think, leads to more and more governance. Like when you utilize governance to solve a problem, you're going to rely on governance to solve more problems in the future as well. And that's the road that I see Bitcoin Cash going down a little bit. And we'll see. I don't know. Maybe they just sort of stop at a certain point. But that's something that you have to really think very hard about before sort of saying, okay, well, we're going to solve, we're just going to hard fork whenever we need to. And these are the things that, these are the principles. We're always going to have low fees. Well, be very careful what you wish for. There are always unintended consequences, negative externalities, things that economists look at very, very closely with respect to this stuff.
Yeah, and I just want to add that to that point, Jimmy. Like what you made me just think about Bitcoin Cash and these things who are just want to just have low fees forever and think that that's okay. I mean, we can just literally let them bury themselves under their own weight, because if that actually got successful, right, then we would see it actually in action, and we would actually see them struggle to keep up, and then we'd see their blockchain get full, and then we'd see it crash, and then we'd see all these things happen to it, all the things that that we actually predicted would happen. So it's interesting, we want them to just go ahead and pursue their project and the way they wanted to, but like you said, Jimmy, you just painted a picture for me in my head about them getting, if they ever did get successful, they would be crushed under their own weight.
Tone Vase, the article mentions South Korea. Why is South Korea buying Bcash?
I'm an Occam's razor guy. The most obvious thing is because people like Roger have a big following in South Korea, and like South Korea and Japan is like their market, and it's so they're listening to the wrong people that are selling them Bcash, telling them that it's the next Bitcoin. I want to take Jimmy's analogy a little bit further, right? And I'm gonna say that, yeah, fine. So they're making cheaper transactions right now. No one is really using their blockchain, right? So if all of Bitcoin's transactions all of a sudden start happening on Bcash, their 8 megabyte blocks will also be kind of getting full. Okay, so what happens then, right? Because remember, this was very clear from the Scaling Bitcoin conference when I asked Twiddle D and the other guy on stage over there. What the hell were they? It was
Peter Risen,
and what's the other one? The telephone network scaling guy.
I don't remember his name.
Andrew Stone. Is it Andrew Stone?
It might be
Andrew Stone, right? So when I asked them, I'm like, yeah, so what happens when the blocks start getting full at 8 megabytes, 32 megabytes? And then I'm like, how do I run my node? And they're like, oh, you're not going to run a node. You're just going to use SPV, right? So with every increase in the block size, they're centralizing the nodes, and they're centralizing the miners. So if they continue to do what Jimmy is saying, it's like, oh, they're just going to increase it every time. There's this huge, like right now, the incentive to spam the Bitcoin blockchain is to pump your shitcoin and make fun of Bitcoin, how it's not able to scale. But if Bcash is, if the flippening happens to Bcash, which it won't, spamming that block size becomes a much more like nefarious effort, because spamming that blockchain actually decentralizes the entire network. So it creates this incentive from government to spam the big blockers in order to, drop guys like me from running his own node to continue to centralize the system into like Google servers, right? So it becomes completely centralized. And so let's do that. Let's say these big blockers of Bcash realize, oh my God, this is a problem. We're being spammed by governments, and now we have to hard fork again. So what do you think is going to happen if they? I don't know what's the maximum now. Is it 8 or 32 megabytes? I think the maximum off of their hard fork is 32. Correct, Jimmy?
No, I actually don't remember.
Okay, so let's assume their maximum is 32. I believe their maximum is 32. It's just that the miners super promised they weren't going to be mining shit greater than 8 megabytes. So let's assume it's 32. Let's assume those blocks are getting full from government spam. Now the Bcash centralized authority with their CEO have to make a decision. Are we going to hard fork again? So guess what's going to happen if they try to hard fork again? There's going to be another, unfortunately, Bcash Classic is already taken. So there's going to be another Bcash Classic, right? They're going to have to hard fork again. They're going to have their own arguments within themselves on which side of the hard fork to go. Like nothing good is going to happen from that chain. So if you continue the analogy further, as far as them sticking to the old vision of Satoshi, why aren't they using the old vision of the internet, which was AOL and dial-up, right? So I didn't create that analogy, but I heard it and it's perfect, right? Fine. Why don't you stick with the original, vision of the internet and run a dial-up server, right? Like that's pretty much what they're doing. Like they're not adjusting with the times, and they have nobody competent there to do anything, right? The two developers that talked about this, they're not even Bcash developers, they're Bitcoin Unlimited developers. I didn't even know that project was still freaking around. But that's who they're developing for. So anyway, it's complete nonsense. And if people want to speculate and pump and dump it, be my guest. I'm so happy I sold all of mine. I never looked back.
All right, Jimmy Song, you have to leave. Any thoughts on the Dragon Mint miner before you go?
I'm trying to get an interview with BTC Drag. He did indicate that he's interested, but he's very busy, so I don't know when that's going to happen. But that'll also be a nice way to say that's my story of the week as well. All right, bye, everybody.
All right, bye, Jimmy. And let's go to the exit question. Bcash technical analysis says it might go up higher, but I'm asking you, Jeffrey Jones, next week, Bcash higher or lower? Does the pump continue?
It's a pump and dump. I mean, do alts get pumped? Hell yeah, they get pumped. It's going to continue. Remember, all the volume is in fact coming from South Korea, from pretty much a single exchange called BitThumb. You can look this up. This is black and white. Anybody can see this. And look, Roger is going to continue to spread lies about Bitcoin via Bitcoin Cash, and that's fine. You guys can do whatever you want to do. I mean, this is a free world. I mean, have fun with it. Meanwhile, Bitcoin will be sitting on top there at over 8,000, continuing to optimize, continuing to develop, continuing to build out things like Lightning Network on top of SegWit, Schnorr signatures, with the Fiber Network from Matt Corello, on and on and on and on. And yeah, good luck.
Tone Vase, higher or lower?
I don't know. I mean, the technicals say higher. So, but like I said, it's a total pump and dump. If people really want to get to the bottom of it, start digging into the South Korean exchange the way Bitfinex is digging into Bitfinex, right? Start digging, find out who their investors are. I don't know. I mean, Aaron is a good reporter. I don't know. Did he talk about the investors of the exchange? I mean, you start taking out the cockroaches, you probably find out that it's Bitmain and the obvious players are somehow involved in it. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Also, remember, there's so much wash trading in those exchanges with all the discounts and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Wash trading never really I never really that's never been my shtick to fight over. I'm not a fan of like the high frequency trading stuff, but I don't even care if computers are trading. I don't even care if computers are trading with each other, right? As long as they're, I hate spoof orders. So spoof orders need to be curtailed, and it's very, very simple to curtail them. You put in a minor fee to cancel your order, a fee that an average user won't feel, and you don't let any bot micro remove an order, right? Like you make an order, stay there for 2 seconds, and you charge them, a tiny fee to cancel or modify the order. And you're done. Like you can completely eliminate bullshit trading. Now, if people on the exchange want to trade between each other back and forth, I mean, okay, that's fine. I mean, regulation is supposed to stop that, but you know what? So what? I mean, I was calling the Chinese volume bullshit for years until finally it got removed. And maybe if they didn't do all that bullshit, maybe their exchanges wouldn't be removed today, right? Like maybe if the Chinese exchanges stood up against bullshit ICOs, maybe they wouldn't get caught in the net, right? So
although fake volume trading was Satoshi's original vision.
Yeah.
Hey, seriously, I mean, China. That was amazing how well China cracked down on that. Obviously, they did it in a very draconian way, but they did do it, and people like Tone and the WCN were citing that for months and months. Before they finally cracked down on it. And the same thing with the South Korean exchanges. It's being zero fees. It's being discounted to have zero fees, and the volume is just not real.
Right. It's like right now, people are in love with Tether. They're using Tether. They're using Tether. I'm warning them what's going to happen with Tether. No one is listening. And then the hammer is going to come down. Tether is going to implode. And they're all going to blame me.
There's a little prediction of the future right there. Let's move on to issue 4, Dragon Mint. This Bitcoin developer is about to take on the mining hardware industry. As Jimmy Song mentioned, BTC Drac, the most pseudo-anonymous core contributor, is making a move into the Bitcoin hardware industry. The developer, who's made contributions to the Bitcoin core repository, has started a new company, Haylong Mining, which is producing the Dragon Mint 16T. Its name references the Dragon's Den, an infamous private chat channel on the Bitcoin core community chat, Slack, and is said to be equipped with newly designed chips and can produce 16 terahashes a second, perhaps providing competition, saying that they are 30% more energy efficient than Bitmain's Antminer S9. Jeffrey Jones, will the Dragon Mint break the Bitcoin mining monopoly and challenge Bitmain?
Man, I really, really, really hope so. I mean, look, BTC Drac is an anonymous, member of the Bitcoin community that has done amazing things. He has earned all the respect. Every ounce of respect for that guy has been hard earned over the years. Been here since almost the damn near beginning. I just have so much respect for that person, whoever he or she may be, right? And I'm really, really just thankful that they're a part of this community doing this. They are again showing their intelligence and their willingness to help this community by coming up with this technology that will in fact challenge Bitmain. So this is just great. I mean, they're doing it they're building miners that are competitive. They have the performance and they are cheaper than Bitmain. And so I just hope this issues in a whole new era. And they're even talking about possibly open sourcing their designs so that other manufacturers can come in and join the fun. Like they're not concerned about profit. They are concerned about Bitcoin. They are concerned about decentralization. And this is really, really important, because obviously Bitmain could care less, right? They want centralization. They want control. Jihan wants it to be Jihan coin. And now he's got Jihan coin with Bitcoin Cash, right? And all of his lovely ASIC boost and bleed that comes along with it. But look, we really, really, really needed competition. And for those of us longtime Bitcoin people, longtime Bitcoin community members, we knew it was coming. We knew sooner or later it was going to come. Bitmain can't have all this profit forever and ever. It doesn't live in a vacuum. Bitcoin is not in a vacuum. People will figure this out. We're going to have all of these amazing manufacturers, AMD, Intel, coming into the place, and so it's really going to be amazing. And I'm really excited for it. And to have somebody like BTC Drac at the helm of this, I mean, man, I don't think we could ask for much more. And this could be really the beginning of the decentralization of Bitcoin mining, because it's going to sway, right? Go back and forth. We were at the far end of the decentralization, right? the spectrum. Then we went up to the peak of centralization, I'd say, where we are now. And now we're going to start coming back down. This is just simple economics. This is how it works. More and more people will enter this space, and it's going to be very, very profitable for these people entering this early, especially before Wall Street. Wall Street is just now getting in. Then after that, you got Main Street, and that in 2019 and later. So this is the time to get in. It couldn't be timed more perfectly, and I'm excited.
All right. Point of fact, we have had BTC Drac on some early World Crypto Network shows, and we thank him for that. Let's go on to Tone Vase. Your thoughts on this new mining operation?
All right. So everything Vortex said was. Oh, wait. You don't hear me? You guys?
Yeah, but it's breaking up. It's like a constant. It's like a constant robot voice.
We are having a robot voice issue, Tone. We're not sure why.
Say testing again, Tone. Test 1, 2, 3.
Test. I can switch mics. Hold on.
Yeah, switch mics. I don't know if it's the mic, but it's definitely.
Okay, so let me.
Let's go to my chat. I'm going to go and open up the chat. This is a good time to remind everyone to give us a thumbs up and a share. We've got 845 live viewers. I'd like to see that go over by 1,000. This is a good chance for everyone to subscribe if you haven't subscribed down below. I don't know what else is going on. Jeff, did you have any Thanksgiving dinner yesterday? Any turkey?
Well, I did. In fact, I think Bitcoin was definitely a topic, and I didn't even have to bring it up. But
It's always
yeah,
good to talk Bitcoin. Let's go to Tone. How's it
So,
going?
switching mics for me was like a mouse click, right? I went
Okay.
to my camera
You're good.
mic. Is it better now?
Yep, it's better now.
It's
Go
all
ahead,
right.
Tom.
Go
So
ahead.
you said what Vortex was saying. I think you said, or no,
Right.
you agreed with
Well, no, I agree with you, assuming that everything they say is true. Now, I'm going to be skeptical here, right? Because at the moment, this is, promises no different than Butterfly Labs, right? So let's see if this actually gets delivered, right? I want to see these miners show up. I want to see these miners working. And I want to see someone like Gregory Maxwell taking a look at the code, right? Like what he did with the Ant miner. And
Now we did have a tweet from Adam Back where he said he saw one run, he tested it, he looked under the hood. It sounds pretty legit, but that is just one tweet. So
okay, so that's actually very, very helpful, right? Because I've already seen a couple of tweets. People are like, well, like we're not sure he can pull it off. Now, I am very curious how they were able to do that operation. That's a lot of research and development, right? Like,
it is different too to build one versus building 1,000. They could have problems at scale.
So I'm going to be a little bit skeptical here. Like, let's just say I am not going to prepay for one of these. I will wait. I mean, I prepaid for my Bitcoin watch because I trusted the developer of the watch.
I was going to say we could get you to trade the watch for a miner.
Right. So I mean, if this thing delivers and this thing works as promised, then I'll go ahead and buy one because I do want to upgrade my Avalon miner, unless Avalon comes up with something equivalent. So I will hold my reservations until this thing is actually in people's hands, and because we've all like I didn't actually deal with mining issues, but everybody around me has when I joined this space. So that's all I'm going to say because I'm not technically qualified to review the miner. So I will wait until other people have and it's actually being shipped out.
All right, exit question. A bigger problem, Bitcoin mining centralization or Bitcoin scaling? Jeffrey Jones.
Well, it's mining centralization now that we got SegWit already implemented and a huge amount of development around Lightning and side channels on the way. So I'm really, really looking forward to both those technologies in 2018 really coming to fruition, really starting to spread around the ecosystem. I guess that would be miner centralization right now. And again, I don't think that's a problem. I never did thought it was too much of a problem because I did believe that eventually it would ebb and flow. Bitcoin would become valuable enough for somebody else to get into the game. It's really that simple. If Bitcoin continues to be more valuable, more miners will enter the game.
Tone Vase.
Well, neither, right? Like currently, neither is a problem because if we went to a bigger block, like if Bcash would have won, then both of them are a problem, right? Because then scaling is being done in backwards ass way that would lead to more miner centralization, right? Like the path that we are on now, without hard forking to a bigger block, I wasn't worried about either. Like I'm not worried about scaling because we have smart people working on layer 2. And because we're not going to a bigger block, mining centralization doesn't worry me. So neither one has been a worry of mine in the last 3 months after August 1st.
Jeffrey Jones. We already went to you.
Yep. You want to comment again.
Comment again. We'll go on to predictions or story of the week. Jeffrey Jones, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week?
Oh, story of the week. Story of the week. Man, just hilarious how Ben Losky, I guess, joined the Ripple board. I mean, Tone's, you guys really got to check out Tone's thread on Twitter about this tweet because, like, after he tweeted, just a million hilarious freaking tweets ensued, a million replies to that tweet. Maybe Tone can give it to you to put it in the show notes, but that was just a little bit of hilarity that the guy who tried to freaking, make Bitcoin like Ripple decided to join Ripple. It's like I mean, I guess it's to be expected, but I'm not surprised. But at the same time, it's just so ironic and so hilarious.
All right, and Tone Vase, story of the week or prediction.
I'll comment on that. I mean, that's a really good story of the week. Now, the most interesting thing that I found for that, because as I was typing that tweet up, and thank God Twitter now gives me 280 characters, but but as I was typing it up, I'm like, should I mention that Ben Lawsky created the bit license? And I'm like, no, people should know who he is. And I was amazed at the number of people that did not know who Ben Lawsky is. And this, like, just
that's probably because they didn't call him by his title, Super Nintendo. Easier.
And it just goes to show you, like, sometimes we don't realize how long we've been in the space. And we kind of, like, I don't look up to the guys that were in it before me anymore, because I think my understanding of the space,
they've all become traders and supported horrible altcoins and
right.
Because,
like pretty much, like, there's like 2 people left in the entire, like, other than the core developers, right? Removing the core developers, there's like 2 people left that haven't gone off the deep end, and it's like Trace Mayer and Andreas Antonopoulos, right? Like, and Andreas,
I would agree with that. Those are both really good choices.
I mean, actually, Charlie Shrem stayed pretty good. He did curve there a little bit.
Sure, after he got out of jail, he was.
Yeah, he's back. I think he's back.
I'm sorry, Charlie.
He's back for like 6 months, and then he tries to become 2-time again, and then we talk him out of it. No, like, and Andreas come close. Like, Andreas is on the edge here, so it's like I'm almost down to like Trace Mayer here, right? But we're now getting to a point where, yeah, you know what? Roger Ver has been in the crypto space 2 years before me, but at which point does that become negligible, right? There'll come a day where I've been in the space for 10. Thomas, you've been here longer than me, and somebody like Roger Ver has been here 2 years longer than us. Okay, so I've been here 10 years. He's been here 12 years. Is there any material difference there, right? So we're getting
unfortunately, there's still the difference of having $1 billion.
Oh, there's financial difference.
We missed out on that one, but it's going to
right. There will always be a big financial difference, right? But as far as like your stature and your credibility in the space, that starts to go away. And I got to realize how much longer I've now been in the space than the majority of the people that are around. So so that was kind of fascinating. I guess I'll just do a pricing update. I know a lot of people want that, even though not much has been happening with the price. Let me see here. I guess
it's been going sideways for a minute now, Tone.
Well, that's what I said, right? Like when we were doing this show last week, and the question was, will Bitcoin be higher or lower? I said about the same. And you guys laughed at me for saying that, but that's what I expected. I mean, last week was what day? So today is 24. So you take away 7, we're going to the 17th. Yeah, so we were like just under 8,000, and now we're, and early this morning, we were like exactly the same price, right? We were, this is the daily chart. This morning, we were below 8,000. So we were pretty much exactly the same this morning. Now we're a little bit higher. So that was my view. We were going to like stabilize here for a little bit, but I think we're going to bust out. I think any day now, either tomorrow or the day after, I think Bitcoin is due for a little bit of a bump. I mean, Bitcoin stagnated for a couple of days. Altcoins are pumping. I hear Monero's pumping. Bcash is pumping again. BGold is pumping. The only one I'm happy about pumping, because I got to figure out how to get pool line out.
Ethereum hit new all-time highs, Tone. Ethereum.
Ethereum's right. So all these altcoins
I've heard of that one.
And I don't think that's going to last. I think Bitcoin is getting ready to bust out, maybe making a push for 9, maybe 9.5. And I think some of those profits from the altcoins are about to go back into Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin is getting ready for a jump up. The short-term charts, I mean, this is not going to be a sustained high, because we've spent way too much time for people to decide whether they want to enter or exit. And I think a breakout is imminent, and we go higher. That's pretty much it. I mean, I have a resistance line here on the hourly chart from the last 9 that we got. The moment we get back above this, the moment we get over this line, which currently sits around 84.25, then it should be another boost higher. So yeah, so I'm bullish here, and the mempool, every time it comes down to like 7 megs, it fills up again to like 11 or 12. So yeah, let's see. Hopefully Lightning will come sooner than later, and more people should convert to SegWit, including myself.
All right. And while I'd like to go on another diatribe and complain about net neutrality some more, I know about half of you are libertarian and don't care about net neutrality, and the other half don't know anything about technology, but maybe that's the same half. But let's just focus on what we're thankful for. And I'm thankful for Bitcoin, and I'm thankful for cryptocurrency, and I'm thankful for all the friends that I met on my European trip. It's pretty strange. I don't know if you guys have had this yet, but when you go places now after you've done all these videos, people seem to know you already. And they come up to you and they're like, oh, I know who you are. And it's the strangest thing from our perspective, because we do these little shows in our bedrooms and we do them each week. And we just try to make them better, each one after the last one. But people really like them. They like listening to them. They're listening to them in their showers, on their commutes, on their bicycles, in their cars, on the airplanes, and on our new audio podcasts on the World Crypto Network. And just like to remind everyone to subscribe to that. We've got a friend of ours in the chat is working on doing it every day, converting them over. We're getting a lot more listens, and listening is great because you can clean up the house and do other things while you're doing it. Although I still think YouTube's the best. So everyone should subscribe down below. And I'm just thankful for everybody. I just want to do a positive note and give us a thumbs up and a share. And we're about out of time. We had a great time doing the show today, a little Black Friday special after Thanksgiving show. Keep you guys away from the shopping off the Amazon.com for a little while. And of course, if you'd like to donate to support the show, we've got a QR code right here for Bitcoin donations, and we've got a Patreon link down below. And you could always support us with a super chat or by retweeting or sharing or putting in a comment. All these things are great ways of supporting the show. So thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again this weekend with Jeffrey Jones and the Bitcoin News Show on Sunday. And then we'll be back with Today in Bitcoin Show next week, hopefully returning to a regular time and a regular lineup now that I'm back in California. So thanks so much for dealing with us while we were in a European trip. And until next time, bye-bye.